From the burning mazes of the Arizona desert to the slot machine-clad boardwalks of New Jersey, it's the Imaginarium with Scott and Todd. I'm Scott Colbert.
I'm the horror nerd, Todd Staruch.
And it is the 100th episode of
Dun,
the
dun,
Imaginarium.
dun. Wow.
Holy shit, 100. And it doesn't sound a day over 50.
It does not. Wow. 100 episodes.
Is that amazing or what?
It just means you've been doing this a really long time.
Yeah, story of my life. Now, before we get into that, last week I told the story about going to the dermatologist.
Yes. So was it an alien microbe or what?
It was a wart.
Really?
Yeah.
Am I wrong for being disappointed?
I actually kind of was too, because according to WebMD, it was brain cancer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm kind of relieved about that, but I was expecting something a little bit cooler than a wart.
Yeah.
Particularly when it's in your ear. I mean, who the fuck gets a wart in their ear?
I never even heard of that.
As I said to my mother, leave it to somebody in our family, specifically me, to get a wart in the ear. Because our family tends to get all sorts of odd illnesses and things that most people don't get. Mm. And certainly a wart in the ear fills that bill. So now I've got to go in and have a wart treatment. Now, I'm not sure what that entails, but I'm going to have that done sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Gotcha. Well, all kidding aside, I'm glad it wasn't something more serious.
I am too. I have enough shit going on. I certainly don't need anything else. I have enough. I was going to say mental illnesses, which I do, but I meant various illnesses. So certainly a wart I can deal with. That's no problem.
Yeah.
So now it's just the anal warts I have to do something about now.
Yes, you really should.
But they're
really,
like
really should. It's not attractive at all.
They're like road bumps, though.
Ah, that's true. And listen, if you do start dating a blind dude, like he can read it, and
yeah,
you never know. Like, holy shit, you've got the Kama Sutra, growing on your ass. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, it's a new Trump
made
speech.
That up.
So yeah, I figured I would, at least let people know what the results of that were.
Okay. Well, it didn't take long this time for us to veer off the road and hit a tree.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Mere minutes, folks. 3 minutes.
That's right, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And, our dear friend Wade Radford was going to be on the show with us today, but he's moving. And if you listen to this week's Mad as Hell, you heard our rant about the excuse of moving. It's the new dog ate my homework, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I do know for a fact that he was telling the truth about that, so I will give him the leeway on that. Kyle, however, is not off the hook for it. So
no, not at all, especially because it seems to be the longest move in history. He's like, what is he, like, got one hand truck and he's wheeling it around himself, across town?
Well, that pretty much was what my move was like last year. It was really just kind of me and my mother just, driving me back and forth and to IKEA and whatnot. And that shit just about killed me. So I know moving
blows. It really does.
Yeah, it does. And I just don't want to have to do it again for a while. I like where I'm at, so I'm staying here.
Well,
Unless
you have no choice. They have get, gates and fences and barbed wire and stuff to keep you in, Scott. So
Well, that
don't let him fool you, folks. He's not staying there by choice.
and the jacket that ties him back. So
Yeah, exactly.
now, last week we did our Oscar show,
We did.
and the comments on that show really kind of blew up.
Yeah, there were a lot. Some of them, some of them, a lot of them had nothing to do with the actual Oscars. Seems to have turned into a commentary on Marvel movies, but that's okay.
Well, as these things go, and I think part of that was because we did talk about Doctor Strange last week.
Yes, we did. This is true.
So that's where a lot of the Marvel stuff comes from. But you know what? I will say I'm really kind of surprised at some of the anti-Marvel feelings that people have, and I don't know if it's simply because people actually feel that way, or if it's now kind of hip, slick, cool to jump on the Bash Marvel bandwagon.
Sometimes success does breed contempt. It is a juggernaut. Not only that, you're always going to have the comic purists that are going to bitch, Doctor Strange's, cape in the movie was, I think 1 or 2 shades darker red than in issue number 47 of the comics. And I really don't care for that. They should have kept it the same. You're always going to have some of that, no matter what they do, someone's going to bitch. But people in the comments did make some valid points. I mean, especially about the casting. And we even talked about diversity and stuff like that,
Yes.
And that's what a lot of the comments were about the Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One and things like that. So a lot of these comments do make some sense.
Well, let's dive right into the comments then.
Okay, let's.
All right, I've got this open here. So, which ones? What struck you first?
Well, the very first one, because I know you had mentioned it too. You joked about us now having to refer to Suicide Squad as an Academy Award winning film.
Yeah.
Look, I don't care about the Oscars. It's Hollywood congratulating themselves, so I don't take it too seriously. But I do agree that Suicide Squad winning Best Makeup over Star Trek Beyond was a little bit ridiculous. And not only that, on the web, they used a picture of Harley Quinn, and I'm thinking, at least if you're going to tout your makeup work, at least show Killer Croc,
Yeah.
Which actually required extensive makeup application instead of just some smudged, blue and red eyeliner or whatever the fuck she was wearing. But so that first one struck me, that someone mentioned exactly what you said about Suicide Squad winning for makeup. I thought that was a little bit silly.
I thought so too. And as I said on Jack Random's show, because I was on that, I'm going to plug that again on this show too. Perhaps it won because it was the first movie where Will Smith actually looked and sounded like a black man.
That could very well be. Yeah.
And that's, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. And it was also up against Doctor Strange, and of course I thought Doctor Strange should have actually won that. I didn't see the Star Trek movie, so I can't really compare it to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Star Trek Beyond had the typical, various alien makeups with great prosthetics and stuff, a lot of practical makeups. I mean, if you're thinking about I don't really put too much into the Oscars, but I thought, it was just silly. The makeup work that was done on Star Trek is so far beyond Suicide Squad. But what are you going to do?
Now, Dee made a comment. Now, it was actually something he just posted on Facebook. It wasn't a comment about anything I had said or on the website. But he made the comment that people who are, talking about Suicide Squad being an Oscar winner, forget that there are a lot of other worse movies that have won Oscars, and so they should probably just chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And and when I made my comment, I made it clear to him. When I made my comment, I was just being funny because that's what I try to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And, but he does have a point. There certainly are a lot of movies that have won Oscars that really shouldn't have.
Oh, there's not even a question about that. But you also need to separate, you got to take the category into account. Like, you could have a shitty movie that has the greatest sound editing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
So for it to win a technical award, I have no problem with.
And there were a lot of people who were upset that the Star Wars movie did not win for visual effects. So you can't please everyone.
Well, you know what? I know Jungle Book won for visual effects, and I got to admit, I thought I really didn't have a problem with it. The effects were amazing. It was seamless. I mean, it was one of the few movies I've ever seen where I had to really remind myself that the animals were CGI. I'm like, no, is not really talking to a bear. It was that good. So the Star Wars people are being upset. Well, they're just upset that their guy didn't win.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that show that we did last week. I don't think I got anybody right. I did not get one category right.
I gotta be honest, I don't remember most of my picks, but I had thought that La La Land was gonna win more awards than it did. So in that respect, I was a little happy that it did not, Mm-hmm. I thought for sure once it took Best Director, I thought for sure that it was going to be Best Picture as well, because they usually go hand in hand,
Yeah.
And then we got to the infamous fuck up, which I got to admit I've never seen anything like that,
No.
That I didn't even watch it firsthand because I didn't watch the telecast. And then, all of a sudden, my social media news feeds blew the fuck up. And I went right on to, it was already up on YouTube. And, wow, that was colossal.
Yeah, now there's two things, and I didn't watch the show either. So I didn't see it. And I like you, I saw it on YouTube. But two things that struck me in the aftermath of that is, number one, all of the fucking conspiracy theories.
Oh, God, yeah.
That. And I thought, really, have we gotten to this point in civilization that a screw up at the Oscars is now some kind of a conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
And the second thing was, a friend of mine, David, posted something along the lines of, can we, just get over the fucking Oscars now? There are more important things in the world to talk about. And, he's got a very valid point with that, and I agreed with it. And he had people, and of course there were people who worked in the industry who were looking at it like, no, this is serious. You don't know how many people this is affecting. You don't know how relevant the Oscars are. Somebody actually said that, how relevant the Oscars are. And I rolled my eyes so hard, I saw it in the back of me. And I didn't say anything because I try not to post sarcastic shit on friends' posts. I try not to do that.
Yeah.
Just out of just trying to be polite. At least I don't do it anymore. But I really wanted to just get into that because it was the most ridiculous fucking thing I had ever read about the Oscars in my life. But, they're so important and there's millions of dollars at stake and yada, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Are you retarded? I mean, seriously, are you retarded that you actually believe that?
Yeah, some people are.
Yeah, so,
Look,
um,
the Oscars are relevant to Hollywood, like so they can, jerk each other off for 3.5 hours.
no, I will say that I'm also surprised that La La Land didn't win Best Picture.
I was very surprised. But I thought Moonlight was very well deserving of it. It's not like, ooh, shocking. It was shocking that it just, 14 nominations, they usually sweep, best director and best picture. They really do go in hand most of the time.
I was just surprised that it was Moonlight. I thought, if there was going to be any kind of a surprise, Moonlight probably would have been at the bottom of my list because, as I said last week, I wasn't even aware of the movie until 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm.
But this is a movie that was made for $1.5 million. I mean, very low budget. I'm surprised the Oscars even noticed it. It's got, but it hits some of the buzzwords and stuff. You've got African American leads, you've got gay African American leads, and basically a gay kind of coming of age story. So that's really the kind of movie Hollywood loves. It hits all those minority buttons and makes them feel good. So from that respect, I can't say I'm too surprised. Now, I'm not denigrating the Oscars for doing that. I think anytime you have a movie where you have characters who are really not even represented in movies. I mean, how many gay African Americans have you seen in the movies recently?
Right.
I think that's very important because I think it gives young gay minorities a movie that they can go to and something they can point at and be proud of. And I think that's very important. So in that respect, I'm glad that Moonlight won. I still need to see it.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. And part of it, something about it that makes me sad is, of course, there are people that are crying foul that the only reason that it won is
Mm-hmm.
because of the minority aspect of it. And again, like we just talked about on our other show, we're never going to get past racial issues while people are still looking for slights everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
there are people that cry that there's not more diversity, but as soon as there is, other people cry that it's quote unquote forced diversity. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, how do you fucking win? Like, you can't. Like, will we ever get to a point where someone like Mahershala Ali wins Best Supporting Actor because he did the best job in that role, and not because he's a black dude? You
Yeah.
know, like, oh well, hell, they had to give it to the black guy. Like, fuck you. Like, we're never. Now, I didn't see all the nominated performances, so I can't say. But what I can say, I thought he was fantastic in Moonlight. So it's not like they gave it to some guy who did a shitty job, you know? I get so fired up about this shit because of all the negativity I saw. It's just ridiculous.
It is, and and you're right. It's something that it's never going to go away. And I've heard people say, well, as these races get older, and they start dying off, we're not going to have that problem. Well, no, because they raise little races to become big racists. So you're still going to have that mentality, no matter what happens. Because racism isn't strictly relegated to old white men. As much as we like to um, keep it to that demographic or
Right.
to southern rednecks. Uh, there are just as many racists in New York and in California and in Maine and in every other place as there is down south.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Yep,
you know.
absolutely.
and so we're never going to get over it. I don't even know how we can get to a point where it's not going to be an issue. Certainly, I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid you're right.
So, all right, let me go on to a conversation that I had here with Killick.
Okay.
And Killick's a fairly regular on our website, and he's been on the Ain't It Cool News site for years and years and years. And it started off talking about Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One and the issues around that, which we talked about last week. And he writes, she was, because I talked about how much I liked her as the Ancient One, and he said she was wasted, though, not enough interaction between her and Strange. They should have taken a few hints from Karate Kid, Kung Fu, and all those classic mentor-student movies, but they were in a hurry to go to the action before the ADD crowd fell asleep. Strange could have been a genre masterpiece, but instead it ended up being a mediocre shame, or a mediocre shame. And so my response to that was, I certainly would have loved to have seen more of Swinton, but Strange is not the type of person who would have ever had a mentor in the traditional sense.
And whatever the hell you wrote next.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what drunken alien language that was, but okay.
He goes and educates himself, so to speak, and the Ancient One, I think, realized that and let him do what he wanted to do for the most part. I always thought it odd, though, she never showed up to lend a hand at the fighting until the very end. And so Keelik, of course, disagrees, because he pretty much disagrees with everyone.
Mm.
And he said, the whole point was for Strange to learn humility, not just magic. A more developed relationship between the two characters would have made her more memorable and her death sadder. And then I respond, but that's not the point of Strange's character. He did not learn humility by the end of the movie. And Killick said, well, no, but he learned to be less selfish. And that's just kind of, to me, I thought that was a little bit of a cop-out. Strange's character, as far as I can remember, and I haven't read any of the Doctor Strange comics since the mid-'70s, and I've said this before, I've read comics as a kid. I haven't read them in years and years. I'm not one of these fanatics about them. I like my comic book movies, but I like them as long as they're enjoyable. I don't particularly care if they're from DC or from Marvel, as long as I have a good time. Yeah, that's all I care about. As far as Strange's character, he was always arrogant, and he was that way in the 70s, and I just still think that the Ancient One did what she did because she knew that he had to discover these things for himself. Like when she put him out on the top of the mountain, to learn how to create the sphere to jump through to other places. Nothing that she could say would make him do that. He had to learn that for himself. And that was the way that she mentored him, by letting him do everything. And I actually really kind of think she probably allowed him to look into the book. Specifically because since that book had already been broken into and pages ripped out, that would be something that she'd want to keep an eye on. And I doubt that she would have let anybody else just take that book out to look at it.
Exactly.
So that was my thing about that. And then you had some things from South African guy.
Yeah, well, his shtick is basically that it was just, Doctor Strange and Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy were just all horribly overrated, and people love them way too much, and yada, yada, yada. And look, that's his opinion. That's cool. But like we talked about before, the word overrated is fucking overrated, you know? because something is wildly popular doesn't make it overrated, you know? In the same way that like when some friend of mine goes, I can't believe you never heard of, and he names some obscure shitty band. And I'm like, dude, just because you like a band that nobody ever heard of doesn't mean it's underrated, you know?
Yeah.
There's a reason nobody fucking heard of it, you know? Um,
And usually
so
there's a reason why nobody heard of
yeah,
it.
yeah, because they suck. But like, so I often wonder, like, when a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man gets, on the whole, positive reviews and people seem to like it, immediately somebody will go, that movie's fucking overrated. Well, why? Like, if you didn't like it, that's fine, but why is it overrated just because a lot of people did like it?
Uh,
If that is the case, then I would say Avengers Age of Ultron is very overrated because I liked it. It was good entertainment, but I didn't think it was a particularly good Marvel movie. You know, it was very busy. With, too many characters.
yeah.
Um, et cetera, et cetera. I thought, Captain America: Civil War was way better than Age of Ultron. Way better. you
Absolutely.
know. So yeah, I'm reading through these comments and like when I was a South African guy, I really don't. I barely remember the movie. I was kind of bored and just mentally checked out at some point. All right, well, I'm not entirely sure how I am supposed to take your criticism of the movie seriously then,
Yeah.
but okay. Uh, and then on and on, just about him and Killick and other people going back and forth about Ant-Man, whether or not it's overrated or and then South African guy, Ant-Man was for me just not a good movie. It ranks alongside Guardians of the Galaxy, which I consider most overrated, and Doctor Strange as the overrated MCU movies to me. Bear in mind that overrated doesn't mean bad, but rather high, that I am baffled at their high critical ratings. Um, that they are at least better than Thor, Thor 2, and Incredible Hulk. Well, dude, you pretty much named every fucking Marvel movie that was ever made. Like, which ones do you like? I don't see anywhere where he says which Marvel movies he did like, you know? But
Yeah.
that's cool. It makes the comments section very interesting, you know?
It certainly does.
So, and then D said, to be fair, they told the same story for the fifth or sixth time with Doctor Strange, so they know how to streamline it. And in that respect, he's right, it's a hero's journey. I mean, it's one of the 4 or 5 basic storytelling
Yeah.
tropes is the hero's journey. So, okay.
Yeah, it's right out of Joseph Campbell, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I simply think that Doctor Strange did it better than most, because I really do like the movie a lot. And as far as Guardians of the Galaxy, that's still probably my favorite Marvel Universe movie. I absolutely fucking love that movie, and it's maybe not turning out to be this way, but when it first came out, I said, this movie is this generation's Star Wars, and boy, did I get some heat for that.
Wow.
I got a lot, but I still kind of maintain that I have never had a more enjoyable time watching a movie. Not recently, anyway. It's been a long time since I felt like I was a little kid again, and that's what Guardians of the Galaxy did. Made me feel like a little kid. Made me feel in awe and excited and scared and all those things all at the same time. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I could sit down and literally nitpick any movie,
Oh, absolutely.
and look at the continuity flaws or the plot holes or whatever. Like, but that just sucks all the joy out of going to the movies.
Yeah.
You have to suspend some disbelief and just have fun with it.
Yeah, because we're talking about men who run around in tights.
Yeah.
And and it's not wrestling. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's people, saving the galaxy from arch villains. I mean, it's about as ridiculous as you can get, and I don't mean ridiculous in a negative way. It's just very, it's just so out there, really. Um,
absolutely.
that you're gonna nitpick some really stupid stuff. Now, people can say, "Well, Scott, you picked on the apple last week," and yes, I did pick on the apple, which is a fairly minuscule part of Doctor Strange, but that's just because the special effects part was so fucking shitty.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure I could probably pick apart stuff on Doctor Strange if I wanted to, but I don't do that. I just go to have a good time. That's why I can never really be a very serious film critic, because I feel to do the job right as a film critic, you really kind of have to deconstruct it, and I don't want to do that. I just want to have fun at the movies.
Yeah, I want to be entertained, with certain exceptions. Like,
Yeah,
although I was about to bring up Schindler's List,
yeah,
which, if you're gonna say, well, I was entertained by that movie, that's probably not the right word. But
yeah,
in a way, I was, because I was engrossed by a 3 hour and 15 movie
yeah,
about a terrible, terrible time in history, horrible, horrible subject matter, but I was engrossed for over 3 hours, to the point that I didn't realize it was 3 hours.
yeah,
You know, so was I entertained? Yeah, probably. You know, it told a terrible story in a way that I could consume it. You know,
hmm
so if that makes a shred of sense at all.
it does. And I went through the same thing when Jerry and I were talking about our favorite war movies on Weekday Matinee. One of the movies that I chose was Judgment at Nuremberg
Mm.
from the early 60s.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite movies. And again, much like Schindler's List, this is a movie that it's not that you necessarily enjoy it, but, or I should say entertained, but you, you are. And it is such a wrong word to use when it's a movie about, in this particular case, about Nazi Germany and what the Nazis were doing, and Nuremberg, Germantown, and the rape of a 15-year-old Jewish girl, and it's not that's entertainment, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But when you're done watching it, you just like, that was so worth my time watching it, and that's another 3-hour movie or so,
Yes.
and that's all talking. There's no action. I mean, basically everything is in a courtroom for 80% of the movie, and there's a lot of talking in it, but it's still entertaining. Again, for lack of a better word, and the performances in it were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so back to the comments real quick, because I thought this was interesting when D said, "Is La La Land this year's The Artist?" And South African guy said, "By that I assume you mean movies that I will never see." And again, I just want to say, like, all right, man, I get it. You're too cool for school, and you're
Yeah.
not going to go see La La Land, whatever. And then D said, "Actually, I meant movies nobody will remember." And then Killick said, and I thought this was a good point, "I think everybody will remember La La Land as the movie involved in the biggest fuck up in Oscars history. Moonlight took the Oscar in the end, but it also suffered from the fallout, since now everybody is talking about the incident and not the winner." And I think
Yep.
that's a good point. Like, yeah, people are talking about, oh, how my social media was only about 10%, like, of people praising Moonlight for winning, and 90% people, like, does Warren Beatty have Alzheimer's? It's like
Yeah.
that kind of ridiculous shit, or it's a conspiracy, like you said. But yeah, I think Killick made a good point that that's what people are talking about is the screw up instead of the fact that Moonlight actually won.
Yeah. And in that sense, I can understand to a slight extent the very serious responses to my friend's post about can we get on and talk about something important, because a movie like Moonlight shouldn't get overlooked like that. But then I just read this morning that it's being released in 1,500 more theaters across the country. So it'll get more exposure. And then I thought, but you know what? 1,500 theaters, that's not a lot.
Not anymore, but I'll bet you it's more theaters than it played at in its first run.
Oh, that's true.
Because a movie like that is not going to play everywhere. When King Kong comes out next week, it's going to be in every goddamn theater in the country.
Yeah. Oh, is that next week?
Yeah, the 10th.
Oh, I thought that was May.
No. Well, wait a second. Oh shit! Now did I fuck up?
Don't get me excited. I've got half a chub right now.
Oh boy, hold on. Where the fuck is it? No. March 10th is the official opening.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then I can use this half a chub then.
No, you know what though? You're right. Like it. Notice how I just let that go. It.
So to speak.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh God.
I know you didn't want to touch that.
He's in Arizona, and it ain't that big to reach all the way to New Jersey. So
only in my mind.
Yeah.
Anyway,
wait,
what were you saying?
There was just a knock at the door. Hold on, everybody. Oh, look, it's Scott's penis. Hi. Oh, I just killed Scott.
Oh my God. Oh,
yes?
God.
Oh God. Oh. It's got a condom on and everything. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I can't waste time at my age. I don't have time for right. I gotta sell while the ship is on the sea.
Oh boy! Wow.
All right, now what were you gonna say?
I have no idea. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. It is, I think, a little weird that Kong Skull Island is coming out in March. That seems more like a summer blockbuster to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to go up against Guardians of the Galaxy and the other big movies that are coming this summer.
That's true. Now, who's putting out Kong? That's not a Disney movie, is it?
No, I don't think so. Through the magic of the interwebs. Where are you? Kong. Fuck, I can't type Kong Skull Island. What's the studio? I don't fucking know.
Well, the only reason that I was
Warner
had
Brothers
mentioned
and Legendary
Warner
Entertainment.
Brothers.
Okay.
Okay. The only reason that I had mentioned that was a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine had made a comment that he thought that there was going to be a release of Star Wars into the theaters, but the original version, the 77 version, excuse me, the one that Lucas said didn't exist.
Right.
And he said because Disney has Beauty and the Beast coming out in May. Then they have an unannounced movie coming out not long after that. Then they don't have anything else coming out until November. And so, the talk is that they're going to be releasing these movies, and he said, probably expect something at the announcement at this Star Wars gathering in Florida in April, I think April 13th. So then he posted something a day later that it was going to be a 4K version. So I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I thought maybe if that had been a Disney movie, they were releasing it that early because they were going to have Star Wars all summer. Steve Fallon was very excited about that when I told him, by the way.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because you know how big of a Star Wars guy he is.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I have to admit, I would go see the first one in the movie theater if it was the original 77 print. Even if it was in 4K. And I still have a little bit of an issue with that, only because that's still not how it was originally presented. I mean, there's no 4K back then. And so it's still not what I saw in 77. I mean, it may look a lot sharper, but that's not what it was back then. And I just want to see what I saw in 77. Now that I've kind of come around to liking Star Wars a little bit more than what I have, although I still really can't get into Return of the Jedi. Those Ewoks just fucking ruined that whole thing for me.
It's funny you mention that. If I can find the link, I'll send you the article. That someone wrote, I thought, a very fair article in defense of George Lucas, that the Star Wars films were intended to be children's movies.
Oh, yeah.
Hence the Ewoks. So we grown-ups fucking hate them, But, 10-year-olds in the audience were like, teddy bears, So
yeah,
it's like we forget that sometimes. I still hate them,
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the fact that they were in the movie, I kind of get it,
Well, the thing is, if there was a precedent for that type of a character, I could understand. But there is no Ewok-type character in the first movie, and there's no Ewok-type character in the second one. And, honestly, the second movie is really fairly dark.
Oh, yeah.
So when you get to Return of the Jedi, and you see the Ewoks, you're kind of bamboozled because you've got two other movies where you didn't see anything like this.
Yeah.
And then when they have that little musical number at the end, you just kind of like, what's George thinking? Did he get some bad acid at Woodstock?
I probably did.
Yeah, probably a lot of people do.
Oh! By the way, speaking of George Lucas, did you see? Which one of the shows was it? Was it The Flash? Hold on. Son of a bitch. Go ahead. Whatever you were saying, keep going, and I'll find it. I'll find it.
Well, I actually really had nothing to say, so.
Oh, okay.
As far as I was done, I had blown my load, so to speak.
George Lucas was on, I think it was DC Legends of Tomorrow, and they have to go to that period in time was when he was still in film school, and he gets involved in one of their adventures, and it flips him out, and he throws all his shit down the garbage chute, and it alters history, like, to the extent that, like, all these people now who never saw Star Wars or Indiana Jones, their lives go into a complete different direction. So, like, the fact that, George Lucas never made Star Wars has, like, this profound effect on all of human history. And I just thought it was funny because they have to go back and convince him to stay in film school, and not quit. And I thought that was really freaking funny.
Oh, that's funny.
That's all, everybody. I had to get that out. Oh, and now fucking spoilers. Sorry. People right now are like, fuck you, Todd. I'm never listening to your goddamn podcast again. Because you fucked up that show just now, asshole.
Well,
Say spoiler alert next time.
as long as we're on Lucas, I saw a movie of his a couple of weeks ago that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was actually, I was going to use it for my classic movie of the week, even though technically I had seen it before. But it's one of my very favorites, and it's the best movie that he's ever made, I think, and that's American Graffiti.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love that movie, and there were so many actors in it that were unknown at the time. And you've got a young Harrison Ford, a young Richard Dreyfuss. Suzanne Summers makes an appearance. Well, her ass does, anyway. Cindy Williams, and just all these people who became, big stars. And it's really just such a good movie. If anybody hasn't seen it, I really urge you to check it out. Now, don't bother with American Graffiti Part 2, because that shit sucked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was terrible.
But the original is probably one of the best movies about the late 50s, early 60s that I've seen. It's really excellent.
Yeah, I agree. That is, everybody thinks of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, but yeah, American Graffiti is great.
I wish he would make another movie like that, honestly.
You know what? I'm not sure he has it in him anymore. I really don't.
I think he got so successful so quickly that after he did the first Indiana Jones movie, he just kind of, I don't have to do this shit anymore. And so he just kind of went through the motions with everything.
Yeah.
He lost his passion is what I think it was.
Yeah, I think so. When the Star Wars prequels came out, it became obvious, and I mean, listen, he was never great at writing dialogue,
No.
Ever. So I mean that's kind of well known. But yeah, I'm just not sure he has it in him. I couldn't even tell you what he's doing now,
I have no idea, aside from sitting back and counting his money.
Holy shit, I just looked him up. His net worth is estimated by Forbes to be $5.3 billion.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right.
Not bad for a geek.
Wow. That's right.
Not bad for one of us. Yeah, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I bet you he doesn't eat Top Ramen anymore.
Probably not.
So
it says here, the sequel was announced. A fifth installment of the Indiana Jones series has entered pre-development, with Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg set to return for a release in 2019. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's if Harrison Ford is still alive by then.
Yeah, exactly.
He may have another plane crash and end up killing himself this time.
Bingo.
So, speaking of old people, I don't know if you heard this, but I'm very excited about it. And then we'll actually talk about the show, because we spent most of this time not talking about it. Netflix just paid $105 million to show or to produce, I suppose, Martin Scorsese's next movie, The Irishman. And it's going to feature Bobby De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and pretty much all the old regulars from all the movies that he's done. Of course, it's going to be a gangster movie. And the thing that got me interested about this, aside from it being, another Scorsese movie coming out, is they're going to regress De Niro's age about 30 years using CGI.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And when I first heard that, I had that exact feeling. Oh boy! Then I realized if anybody could do that and make it work, it's going to be Scorsese.
Yeah,
I
I hope so.
I am just very excited to be able to see this because he's not going to have any time constraints on it like the studios would put on him to cut it. It's going to be his cut. He's going to do what he wants with it, and I can't even tell you how excited I am for it. And the only problem is it's not going to be out until 2019, which is a long time, and it concerns me because all of these guys are in their 70s now.
Yeah.
And granted, people live longer, but once you hit 70, that clock really ticks a whole lot faster. So I hope they get it done quickly before anybody expires. Although I suppose they could just do a Peter Cushing if somebody does die.
Yeah, well, God, dude, I have thought about that a lot since I saw the movie and I'm just wondering if we're going to get to a point where anything is fair game. Like, to someone dies, Jack Nicholson dies next week, and they decide, well, as long as we get permission, we can keep putting him in movies forever.
Yeah.
And the CGI will keep getting better and better and better and better to the point where you might not even realize it.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
It is. I have a lot of, as we've talked about, I have a lot of misgivings about that. And I'm glad they're not doing it with Carrie Fisher for the Star Wars movies.
I'll tell you,
go
ahead.
They came out and said that shortly after she died, so I was happy about that.
Oh, did they? Because I know she completed all her work for the next one. I was concerned about the third movie.
Yeah.
But they said that they will not be using CGI.
That's what they said.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Well, exactly. Because by the time they start to do production on the third movie, enough time will pass that people might have forgotten about it.
Yeah, not be as completely outraged if they decide to do it.
Because, people have a very short memory.
Exactly.
So. All right. Well, we covered a lot about the Oscars, far more than I had anticipated we were going to do.
Look, regardless of how we feel about the Oscars, they are still kind of a big deal, How many hundreds of millions of people watch it, And I guess it does carry some cachet. I just don't know if it carries the same weight. Like, when I met Ernest Borgnine, for me, that was a really big deal. I'm like, oh my God, like, he won an Academy Award for Marty, and he was in The Magnificent Seven and The Dirty Dozen, But I was like, oh, I met an Academy Award winner, but it's Ernest Borgnine, Like, am I really, do I really think of Emma Stone? Like, am I, going to be like, oh my God, Emma Stone, Academy Award-winning actress? I'm not. I don't know, man. I could be completely fucking wrong, dude. I don't know. But to me, it doesn't carry the same cachet. I just don't think it does.
No, it doesn't. And it gets back to what we talked about last week is, that mystery and glamour of the Oscars that we grew up with and that we watched is absent today. It's not there. Simply because we knew everything about them. There's no mystery to any of it anymore. We only used to see them on Johnny Carson or Merv Griffin or Dinah Shore or something like that, and an award show like the Oscars, and that was it. There was really no other way of us to see him. I mean, occasionally you'll get news stories like when Lee Marvin was going through his divorce, and
right.
How much that was in the news. But aside from stuff like that, we very rarely heard about them. And so, now it's just it's a non thing anymore. I can't even think of a word other than non thing. That's a technical term I'm going to coin now. So,
A non-thing.
a non thing.
Oh,
So,
speaking of the old Hollywood, there's a show coming up. I can't remember. I think it's a Netflix original called Feud, Joan and Betty. And it's about the
yes,
rivalry and hatred between Joan Crawford and Betty Davis. I can't fucking wait.
yes. As it's not Netflix.
Oh,
I think it's effects. Whatever channel has American Horror Story on it, because it's done by the people
FX,
who
you're
do
right.
that.
FX
Um,
Network. All right.
yeah.
Sorry.
And it
Sorry, FX.
it's got Susan Sarandon, who I can't stand anymore.
I know. Yeah, I know you don't like her.
Um, and I forget the other
Jessica
actress's
Lange.
name. Jessica Lange. How
Jessica
could I
Lange.
forget that? She's my favorite.
Yes.
So just those two alone in these particular roles, that's going to be something. And that's this Sunday. It starts
Yeah, this
March 5th.
Sunday it starts. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm well aware of that hatred that they had
Yeah,
and the things that happened on the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because it'll be a bit of a glimpse into that era of Hollywood.
yeah, I'm really excited about that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I hate to give ratings to a show with Susan Sarandon, but I'm not sure I'll be able to help myself with this one. And it runs 6 or 7 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Great episodes. So it's going to be a short run. I think it's like the same thing that they did with the O.J. Simpson story.
Probably.
Because Ryan, what's his face, who does American Horror Story and did O.J. Simpson's story, is doing Feud. So I think it's all in the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
But
it's going to be good. So.
yeah, oh yeah, I will watch Jessica Lange and anything. I absolutely love her so much. She wasn't particularly good in King Kong back in '76, but she certainly
Yeah, but she
got.
was almost naked, so
Yeah, well, and she got fingered by Kong, so
that's true. That's
there's
true.
always that. So this is our 100th episode, and as this was coming up, there were a lot of things that I thought that I really kind of wanted to do. I thought about maybe doing what we did with the 50th show, which was doing a lot of clips. But quite frankly, that was an awful lot of work, and I really just don't have the inclination
Fair
or the
enough.
or the energy to do that. And then I wanted to have a couple other people on. So as I said, unfortunately, Wade can't make it because of the move, and Jerry Chanda was going to be on when we were planning on doing it last week. But I forgot to ask him to do it this week. So he's not here. And then I thought, you know what? 100 is special. But the thing is, we've never really done things the way that you would expect people to.
Exactly.
But at least we're not taking healthcare away from anybody, so there's that.
That is true.
But I do have to say, I really, when I did my first show in November of 2014, I never even pictured myself doing 100 episodes. It was just, doing one right, 1 week after the other, and not even really thinking about it, and not really having a plan of where the show was going to go or anything. Just doing it because I enjoy doing it, and people have enjoyed it. And really, if people didn't listen to it and didn't react to it, I probably would still do it because it's fun. And I really, really am thankful to those who do listen to it. Uh, Detective D for all of his hard work, excuse me, behind the scenes of the
Absolutely.
Supernauts. Um,
Absolutely.
all of the guests that we've had, even Tom Ryan. Uh, and I can't. Tom, I love you. I really do. You're aces in my book. Um, and of course, my dear friend Wade and my dear friend Joe. All, as I said, all of our guests. But really, the Imaginarium wouldn't be what it is today without my co-host Todd. Uh, you make this a lot more fun for me, and it's always the highlight of my week, which shows you just kind of how bored my life is, I suppose.
Well, Scott, funny you should mention that because it, like yesterday or in the morning, I post on my Facebook page, hey, anybody want to go to the movies tonight? I really want to see Get Out. I've heard it's fantastic. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I actually have a podcast I have to record tonight. And I do that every fucking Thursday. You know,
Yeah.
every fucking Thursday. Hey, anybody want to go to the bar tonight? Oh, wait, I have a podcast. So, exactly. No,
So,
but Scott, it is my genuine pleasure to do this show with you. Um, I am glad, way back when you asked me to be a co host, I was flattered then. I'm flattered now. I do enjoy the show. It is definitely one of the highlights of my week. We have a lot of fun. I like being able to just be irreverent, you know, and just say and do whatever the hell we want. Um, but also, I learn a lot, from you, from the guests we have on. I learn about movies that I never knew about, or music that I didn't, or even if it's something about the writing process, whatever. It just adds to my knowledge of the entertainment world in general, and I appreciate that. So I can't believe it's been you've been doing this 100 episodes. It's crazy.
yeah, and it'll be 2 years for you on the show in May.
That's right. Jesus.
Now that I will probably have to do something special for. Um, but the time has flown, and it's not even just the Imaginarium that I've done, because under the quote unquote Imaginarium banner, I did Bitches of Oz with Wade, where we talked about every season of the TV show Oz. Then, of course, I did Jailbait with Wade. And then, obviously, Weekday Matinee with Jerry, and now Mad as Hell with you, and that Kyle guy who never shows up for
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Bastard.
When he's not moving.
Yeah, when he's not quote unquote moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, podcasting has kind of become my creative outlet to an extent, and I absolutely love it. I'm privileged to be able to do it, and humbled that people like it enough that they'll listen to it, and I hope that we can do it for 100 more episodes.
Absolutely, man. I'm ready to go. So let's do it.
All right, and on that note, we will be going over to 101 next week, and check out the other podcasts that we have at thesupernauts.com, including Jack Random's show, which I am a guest on this week, which I alluded to, or I suppose I should say last week, since this will be coming out Monday, where we did talk about some of the Oscars, and we talked about a documentary on Florida jails from an English documentarian, and of course there's the infamous cursing match between Jamil and Jack that you want to listen to. It was a lot of fun to be on that show. It's a lot of fun to do this one, and check out our Mad as Hell podcast and the Weekday Matinee podcast. And until next time, may all of your journeys be filled with pure imagination.